All right, guys and gals, wanted to do another little video here about power steering pump. I've had a couple of questions about it, and I thought I'd update you and give you a little information on how I fixed this problem and addressed it and attacked it, and so forth. I knew that I wanted a Type 2 style pump because of the size and the availability for adaptation and the new construction and so forth. And so I kind of started searching around out there, and I came to the conclusion that some of the Type 2 pumps, and a lot of them, are set up for rack and pinion steering. And with rack and pinion steering, you need a much higher pressure than you do for a normal box on like this vehicle here, this Ramcharger. So because it's got a conventional box up front, I thought, well, I guess I could get a pump and send it out and have it modified down and have the pressure dropped. And there's a couple companies that sell them, but they're a little pricey. So what I did is I sourced this particular pump, again from Rock Auto, and it is for a 99 Jeep Wrangler. Now, the Jeep Wrangler still uses a conventional style gearbox up front, just like this Ramcharger does. So I thought, well, with that being said, the pressure should be relatively the same. So I got the pump and got it home, and I noticed that when I got the pump that I was going to have a little bit of an issue. And here is the reservoir that comes on that pump, okay? And when it was positioned the way I need to position it, it clocked this way to the right like that, okay? So I got to looking, and I found a later model GM style reservoir that would place it straight up and down like you see here. Now again, not too expensive really. I think it's 20 bucks or something. It was a Dorman part. But again, Type 2 is Type 2. It doesn't matter whether it's Chrysler, Ford, GM, whoever. If it's a Type 2 power steering pump, they're constructed all in the same fashion. They usually have a O-ring style plug-in fitting like you see here that goes in for supply. And then the reservoir has got a return line out that drops back down that accepts the return from the power steering gear, all right? The other thing, this was going to be in the way also in the head when it got clocked properly, so had to go to a different style reservoir. Now, to adapt this, as you can see in this silver portion that I'm going to point to right here, that started out as a 1-inch thick piece of aluminum 6061 T6 plate that I had laying around the shop. So then what I did was I took the idler pulley that you see here that bolts normally into that position, and I traced this pattern onto that aluminum block. And then I took the power steering pump and set it over top of it and kind of positioned everything so that it all lined up. Now, the thickness of that plate was determined by measuring from this surface here to the middle rib of this pulley. So, and I don't remember exactly what that number was, but I measured it. Then I pushed the pulley onto the pump. I sat the pump on the flat surface, and I measured up to its rib. And then I knew how much distance and how thick that plate needed to be. Took it to my local guy here locally, and he milled it down for me for next to nothing. He owed me a favor anyway, so it worked out pretty well. The 3 holes that you see here for the mount onto the head, those were countersunk into that inch-thick aluminum, so those Allen bolt heads were below the surface of that aluminum plate, and then the other 3 holes were bored and tapped for through bolts that you see here. Now, this little metal clip slides on right here, and that's what holds the hydraulic reservoir over to the pump. Out of it is a adapter to go from an O-ring style fitting to an AN style fitting. That hose that you see is just a universal hose kit that I bought from Summit that had a couple of high pressure ends. I know it's a little hard to see down in there. And then the return line is a stock replacement return line that you can buy at any auto parts store. It's worked out well for me. I've had no issues, not one squeak, squawk, high pressure noise, grinding, whining, nothing. I mean, this has been, that in itself has probably been the smoothest thing that we did on the project. All right. Works awesome. Doesn't overpressure the pump. I would like a little less feel, you know, if you've ever driven one of these, they're very easy to turn. The power steering in them is very effective. So it has a tendency to be real easy to turn, and there's really no feedback into the wheel. But at this point, I'm happy with it, and I'm not going to mess with it. I think if I do anything, I'm going to research possibly adding a rack to the front of this, possibly. So that's what I did for power steering pump. Pretty simple, actually. I was fortunate enough to have a piece of 1-inch thick aluminum around here. Did a little cutting on the outside to make it look good and shape it up a little bit, but really nothing more than a chunk of aluminum and a little bit of ingenuity. So, all right, guys and gals, that's it for today. Any other questions, shoot them into me down there. Make sure you hit the thumbs up or the like button or subscribe or whatever you want to do. And again, keep them flying.